良造さん People are saying Wilds doesn't have enough monsters. What should we do?
The time has come. Release the femboy monster.
If you found that skit offensive, just know that I really do not give a fuck. Hello and welcome to another fantastic video. Today we're going to be talking about Mizutsune returning to Wilds and giving my opinion on the matter, which will probably piss off a lot of people. But why can I say you? I'm just a silly little goblin. We'll start by talking a little bit about Mizu's background, because a lot of people are new to Monster Hunter. They started with Wilds, they don't know about the monster, plus it's always fun to cover a monster that you like. Then we're going to have a look at what you guys have said on the matter, because I put up a poll a while back and you guys were kind enough to give me your opinion, and we'll even have a special guest and have a sort of mini podcast, so yeah, look forward to that. So Mizutsune is coming back, and my overall stance is that I don't really mind seeing him back. Even when it comes to, you know, returning monsters, it probably wouldn't be my first pick, more like my 17th. But seeing more monsters added to the roster always brings a smile to my face, even though I do hope that the monsters that get added moving forward are harder. I think it's pretty fair to say that the Monster Hunter team collectively caught us with our fucking pants down, because Mizutsune coming back in the first title update is something that nobody expected.
Oh, but Eric, I called it. I knew Mizutsune was gonna get added.
Shut up, no you didn't. Seeing as Wilds is the first Monster Hunter game for like a lot of people out there, I say we introduce them to one of the most iconic Leviathans of all time. Mizutsune is a fox-looking Leviathan class monster that uses water-based attacks, but what's really unique about it is that it creates soap-like substances that can be used in its attacks. It can create giant bubbles that can deal damage and inflict a unique status effect where your hunter gets covered in soap and starts slipping and sliding around the arena, rendering you incapable of attacking and doing other actions. What I'm trying to say here is that this thing resembles every Genshin player's worst nightmare. A shower. Mizu was first released in Monster Hunter Generations, and it quickly became a fan favorite. I mean, how could it not? It's got a really unique design and a really unique and cool fight. The gear also looks sick. I mean, the great sword and the lance are some of my favorites. So how come people like myself aren't too happy with its return? I believe that there are two main reasons as to why people aren't too happy with the return of Mizutsune so early into Wilds, and if you've been playing Monster Hunter, more specifically if you played Rise and Sunbreak, you can probably see where I'm going here. The first reason is that Mizutsune is low-key getting some sort of favorite child treatment from Capcom. You see, when Mizutsune was introduced, it was part of the group called the Fated Four. I know, it sounds a lot like a K-pop boy band, but trust me, it's better than that, I promise. The Fated Four was a group of 4 monsters that were pretty unique, and they consisted of Mizutsune, Glavenus, Astalos, and Gammoth. Outside the game where they were first released, these guys have made appearances in some more modern entries, like Glavenus was in Iceborne, Mizu was in Base Rise, and in Sunbreak they brought back Astalos. You might have noticed that I didn't say Gammoth, and that's because Gammoth can only be found in Generations or Generations Ultimate. Since 3 out of the Fated 4 had made modern appearances, with some even gaining subspecies, the only one left behind, and the one that people expected to see, is Gammoth. Even if its base form isn't exactly hard, there's a Elder Frost variant, and it put up a decent fight, but the main reason people want to see Gammoth is because, you know, it's a cool monster and it has cool gear. When you add that to the fact that this is the only one out of the Fated 4 that has yet to make a modern game appearance, people, including myself, get a bit salty. But there is still a second reason as to why Mizutsune being in Wilds is kinda questionable. You see, Mizutsune doesn't only exist in its base form. In fact, we'd have not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 Mizutsune variants. And 3 of them were in the last Monster Hunter game, Rise, and its expansion, Sunbreak. It should go without saying that these variants were considerably harder than the base monster. I mean, Soul Mizutsune felt like it ate crack for breakfast. Violet Mizu replaced the soap with just fucking gasoline. And Apex... Actually, not gonna lie, Apex Mizu wasn't all that. Point being, when you think of the fact that Wilds is already pretty easy, and then you pick the easiest variation of a monster that had the spotlight not once, not twice, but thrice in the last game, and you got Gammoth in the back, still waiting to be shown, people are gonna be kinda pissed. Also, they didn't have to include base Mizu first. They didn't bother doing that with either Odogaron or Anjanath. They got variants that were turned into Guardians, and that just adds even more salt to the wound. So why do it? Why not just give the spotlight to Gammoth, or perhaps give Astalos a return with a new subspecies? I think the answer is pretty simple. In fact, you probably already know what I'm about to say. When you look at the total amount of players that Wilds has summoned in comparison to the peak player count for games like World and Rise, rise, it's pretty fair to assume that the huge difference in numbers are new players. I mean, fuck me, let's be honest here. How many people have you seen putting videos like, first time playing Monster Hunter, newbie plays Monster Hunter Wilds? I'm not hating here, I'm just saying that there's a lot of them going on. Everyone's welcome to join the hunt. What I'm trying to say is that most people that are playing Wilds have probably never heard or seen Mizutsune before. Hence, this is the perfect opportunity to introduce one of the most iconic Leviathans in the series.
But Ark, what about the veterans who've already seen Mizu again and again? We won't have a challenge. Does Capcom even care about it?
What I'm gonna say might hurt your feelings, but 300,000 veterans are far less profitable than millions of newcomers. And I'm talking to someone whose first Monster Hunter game was Freedom Unite. But before I analyze this a bit further, let's have a quick talk about the pros and the cons for Mizutsune joining the game for both veterans and newbies. Starting with the pros of Mizu joining Wilds, this being a free additional monster that you get by just buying the base game and its gear. Newbies get to experience a really unique and really cool monster for the very first time, and veterans who really like Mizutsune get to see their favorite femboy Fox in brand new graphics looking splendid and all that shit. There's nostalgia, right? The cons for longtime fans who have played against Mizu before is that they're seeing Mizu again in its base form for the third time, so things are becoming a bit repetitive. Also, there's the challenge deficit, because adding the base version of the monster is very likely not going to result in something harder than, I don't know, 5-star tempered Gormagala. But bro, when it comes to newcomers, they don't have a single problem. And no, I'm not even taking into consideration the fact that a lot of people might even not like the monster, because that is a problem that can happen with literally any monster in the entire series. I think I've made it pretty clear that I'm not very hyped to see Mizu back, but I am moderately excited at best. Because yeah, dude, I like his fight and I like his gear. I know for a fact that I'm going to be crafting some of its weapons regardless of the stats, just because I like how they look. And I know for a fact that Mizutsune is very likely going to impress a lot of people who have picked up Monster Hunter with Wilds. There's a fine balance that needs to be established between pleasing the longtime fans of the series that have been buying game after game and also, you know, enabling the company to get to this point. And they also gotta make sure that the newbies are, you know, satisfied with what they get. It's no secret that Wilds is like very easy for us longtime players, but not for the newcomers because it's their first time getting in touch with Monster Hunter, right? And I'm all for Monster Hunter being more challenging. I want Wilds to be more challenging. I think the only like decently challenging fight is like a tempered high-star Gormagala. I think that fight's pretty good and I want more fights to be like that. But do you guys remember what happened last time they had like World come out and a load of people picked up the game then, like they joined the series, and then they added a Latreon to make a really big impactful challenge, and everyone just looked at him and fucking review bombed the game and bitched about it online, like saying it wasn't fair and all that? I'm not saying make the game easier so that you can drive up sales and please the normies, right? What I am saying is that as a company, they kind of gotta balance both, because at the end of the day, they're here to make money. But hopefully, the greed of the suits at Capcom doesn't make the devs have to sacrifice the work that they want to do for us longtime fans. But that's enough about me yapping. I've told you about Mizutsune, I've told you how I feel, and I've even gone a little bit off rails here, but now I want to look at what you have to say on the matter. But like I said, I've already spoken too much, so I don't just want to read your comments and give you my opinion on them. In fact, I'm bringing in an expert who covered this topic really well and really extensively. Let's make sure to give a big warm welcome to the one and only dude who I want to be friends with, but I can't because he likes Zagombi, Nova Bushido. Nova Bushido.
Yep, Ark. How you doing, man?
Listen, man, you've already made a video on the matter talking about Mizu coming back to Wilds. In fact, you've made a really good piece. I really love the video that you made on it. I think you covered way more than I covered in my video today. And if you guys want to see his full stance, by all means do click on the video. But Nova, for the lazy fucks that do not want to click on one link, can you please explain your overall stance on the matter?
I love Mizu. My favorite game is Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate. Mizu comes from that game. I love him. He's great. But playing Rise and Sunbreak, we had 3 Mizus in that game. Mizu being in Wilds, I think is good. I think it makes sense. But being as the first title update monster is a bit lackluster. It's not very exciting as the first monster we see brought in from a title update. And definitely even more so when you think of all the Fated 4. We've had every single one apart from Gammoth. It's a kick in the ass. Kick in the ass? Kick in the balls. Even though I know Gammoth isn't the most popular, a lot of people say Mizu is so much more popular, that's why. It's still, I don't really vibe with that reason of why monsters need to return just because they're more popular. And
Yeah, because then the roster would always be the same.
Exactly, 100%. That's exactly what I was gonna say. A lot of people on the video, they did say, "I've never fought Mizu. This is great for me. You know, Mizu's popular. What's the problem?" And exactly as you say, the roster would always be the same. We would always have Zenoga. We would always have Nogante. We would never have Legaicris. Like, forget about that. Never.
Let's have a look at what some of you guys have to say, and we'll give our, our two pennies on the matter. I got a comment here from Cyberworm, and he says, it's a bit surprising that Mizu returns after it was so promptly in Rise, but it's since one of my favorites, and I'm happy. Maybe this opens the door to eventually get all the Fated 4.
Ideally, we could get all of the Fated 4. A lot of people have actually said that. Maybe each title update, we get one added. But I don't know. If they do that, then it's just going to be more of the thing where we don't get many of the other monsters that haven't been around, right? Most of the other Fated 4 have been around. So while I would love for all the Fated 4 to come through title update, personally, I would have preferred all 4 to come at once.
We're getting base Mizutsune. Sure,
Yeah.
it potentially will be tempered, and who knows how the difficulty on that's going to turn out. I don't think it's going to be quite on the same level as something like the high star, like tempered Arkveld or tempered Gormagala. And if we're bringing base, then it is a bit of a problem for me, especially because like they didn't bring all the base versions of monsters in there. I mean, you don't have base Odogaron, and you also don't have base Anjanath. You have Guardian versions of Fulgur and Ebony.
Very true, very true. They've set the standard in this game themselves that they don't need to bring the base monsters. They can bring the subs if they want to. So 100%.
I got another comment here from Sensei Spyro 8742. And he says, to be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of Mizutsune, but in the context of Wilds, it works. I'm upset, though, that we are getting Mizutsune over Legaicris. I'm always happy to see more monsters added to the game, but since the Leviathan problem has been fixed, you would think that they would give us Legaicris, not a monster who has already gotten a modern appearance, who have never had this problem to begin with. The more I think about it, the more it upsets me. I'm excited, though, to see what they will do to Mizutsune with the herd mechanic. Because we have always fought a male Mizutsune, we could have a different type to fight a female Mizutsune instead, although I'm not holding my breath.
That's an interesting one. And yeah, we've always fought male Mizus. It's actually also adds into this the fact that when it comes to Gameths, we only fight the female Gameths rather than the male Gameths. So like when it comes to fitting into the lore and the actual idea of Wilds, Gameth would also fit in. Because Gameths also are in herds themselves with the little Gameths as well, so they could have done that in game if they wanted to. But that's just a side point. When it comes back to the actual Mizu thing, no, 100%. Mizu has already been in a more recent game in Monster Hunter Rise and Sunbreak, in comparison to other monsters that haven't had that chance to shine. So personally, yeah, Mizu wasn't the one to go for, but I do understand popularity and all this stuff, but what do you think overall?
The way that I see it, I do think it's really interesting to see how the herd mechanic could affect Mizutsune. I would love to see like a couple of Mizutsune that would be pretty much like a Rathalos and a Rathian, right? With a male and a female kind of fighting you in unison. Because one of the things that I actually think that needed to be explored way more and hasn't been explored at all is the bond mechanic. I would love to see a bond mechanic because Teostra and Lunastra had that, which was like a big supernova. I don't know the exact name of the move, but something like that with two Mizutsune would be fucking incredible. Like they bond together, they do like a soap dance and it creates a giant bubble and you have to stop both of them before they can do it. I think something like that would make the fight just insanely more viable to please all the newcomers and the veterans alike.
No, 100%. There's two things I want to say there. The first thing is the bond thing would be super interesting. But my question is, if they were going to do that with Mizu, why didn't they do that with Rathalos and Rathian, right? They don't really play together in a herd mate type of thing in the game. Like you would have thought if this game was going to do that, you would have seen it first with those two. So I'm not really feeling the vibe that it's going to be a thing with Mizu, to be honest. I don't think so, unfortunately. And then coming on to what you said about Legaicris, I mean, I love Legaicris. Is my third favorite monster of all time. He would be great, and you're right. That monster is the keystone, like the base Leviathan, and he hasn't returned since Generations, and he hasn't truly returned since Monster Hunter 3U, if you really think about it. But I don't think I just don't think Capcom want to bring him in a game without underwater. Honestly, I just don't think it's a thing.
I think they could definitely adapt Lagiacrus, but then they would have to be faced with the problem of people saying it's just not as good as how he was when he was fully underwater, right? Because that's what
Yeah.
people said in GU. He's in GU, and his fight in GU is quite frankly a joke. But I think a way around it would be to, again, not invest in the base version of a monster, bring Ivory back.
Yes.
Or make it a new version. Ivory's whole deal is that he's on land more often, isn't it?
100%, 100%. Ivory is the way to go. People need to forget about base Lagiacrus, and people don't understand base Lagiacrus on the water is so cool. When you see him, you see his shocks, shock shells on the back, like lighting up. His eyes lighting up on the water. Fantastic, beautiful. It's not going to be the same on land, like fully, but Ivory Laggy on land, he's made for it. So bring him instead.
We got another comment here from Awakened Kroll. He says, I'll be honest, I like Mizutsune, but I really feel their first announced title update monster should have been something we didn't just see a lot in the last game, or last 2 games if we count Monster Hunter Now. I didn't even know the Mizu was in Now, I completely forgot about it.
Yeah, I didn't know you were.
To be completely fair, there is a second monster and a whole tier of difficulty that is being announced, so to be honest, we could just be, you know, pulling the trigger a bit too soon here, but I do agree with what he's saying at the moment, even though I think that we're going to be proven wrong very soon. I think the first title update monster should have been something more impactful.
I mean, we can only judge things on how Capcom present it to us, right? So I don't think we're pulling the trigger early. They could have framed it in a whole different manner if they wanted to, right? They could have shown the other monster, and Mizu could have been the surprise thing or just the side thing.
Yeah, actually, you're so right there. They could have done... Because didn't Rise do that with Basel? Like, Basel was a shadow drop, right? So if they did that, where they announced... unless it is like a brand new monster, then I understand why they wouldn't show it until there's like a trailer. I would have done a Mizu shadow drop. Wouldn't even have put it in the title, like in the roadmap. I would have just done it as a shadow drop and see what happened.
100%. I think that would have been the way to go. Coming back to the person's comment, I think it is a bit disappointing since it's the first title update monster. It doesn't really set the precedent that people should be super excited about these title updates currently. Like, we don't really know how fleshed out they're going to be. We're going to find out on Tuesday, I believe, and hopefully we're very impressed, right?
And we got one last comment, and this one's pretty simple, and I think this is actually something that is more sensitive to some people than it is to others, and it's a comment from Sladevalin. I hope I'm saying your name right, probably not, but he just says, I'm just confused, where are the Elder Dragons?
Oh, yes. Because the Elder Dragon thing has been a bit confusing, because they did say they're not going to be focusing on Elder Dragons. They didn't say no Elder Dragons as far as I know.
Well, technically speaking, we have one.
We have a Demi-Elder, you're right. Ginger had. They say it's a Leviathan, but...
But that shit's like an Elder Dragon. That shit's huge.
Exactly. If this was any other generation, it would have been an Elder Dragon. 100%.
100%. Like, I'm gonna be real with you. If fucking Kirin can be an Elder Dragon, then Jin Dahad and Zoshia should have the titles. I'm just saying.
Bro, 100%. 100%. Elder Dragons need to come back. And I'm guessing we're going to see some in the title update. Maybe that's the surprise monster. The surprise monster is the Elder Dragon, right? That could be it.
Potentially. I think that's pretty much it. I think we've covered enough ground with the whole Mizu thing. I'm pretty sure that Mizu's going to be alright. I know for a fact that I want to craft the armor, and I'm going to craft at least 2 or 3 weapons, so I'm going to be hunting him quite a bit. I really want to offset him, like, mid-dash to see what happens. It just sounds like it's going to be a good time. Nova, do you have any, like, closing thoughts on the matter?
Yeah, dude, like, I want people to understand, like, Mizu's great. I love Mizu, one of my favorite monsters. But there are so many other monsters that people haven't fought. There's so many. And I just want to see them more in HD in this game. I think it would be nice for people to experience a monster that no one has experienced in literally maybe 10 years. That would be fantastic instead of Mizu. But I'm excited still. I want to see what they have for us when it comes to Mizu, and I'll judge it when I play it on stream, which should be pretty cool.
Thank you very much to Nova Bushido for coming onto the channel again, and this time to talk about something more serious than last time. Please do not forget to check out his video on the matter, as well as his overall channel, because he makes really good content. This guy definitely deserves 10 times the subscribers that he does. He should be in the 100,000s already. So please, go check him out. Don't leave him hanging. He's a really good guy, and especially if you like Lance, because he's a Lance main. But that'll be all I have for you today. You know the drill. Stay safe, and until we meet again.